least I washed mine. You people don't wash yours. And that dirty, hairy hippie, Hacksaw Duggan couldn't beat us. And those two rock and roll punks aren't going to beat us either. When these two men go up on that scaffold, they're going to prove that they are the greatest tag team in wrestling, just like you know they are. So get a good look at the Rock and Roll Express, because it's going to be the last time that they ever show their face in Houston, Texas again. Thanks to these two men, the most awesome combination in wrestling. Lean, mean, slick and quick. Twin sons of different mothers. Loverboy Dennis and beautiful Bobby, the Midnight Express.
Well, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the legendary scaffold match between the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. Boyd Pierce is your ring announcer. Nice jacket, if I may say myself, with Jeremy Medrano at ringside for this legendary scaffold match. You can see the height of that scaffold. This is not necessarily the first scaffold match in history, Jeremy, but it's got to be close.
And of course, a very dangerous match at that. As you can see there, that has to be at least 15, 20, maybe possibly 30 feet above the ring itself. And then plus a few more feet from the ring to the floor. So you're looking at a total combined height of possibly 40 feet from the scaffold all the way to that hard concrete floor.
Capacity crowd on hand, ladies and gentlemen, waiting for the very popular Rock and Roll Express to emerge from the dressing room and make their appearance in the ring. And there you see Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton with those championship belts around their waists.
Those Mid-South Tag Team Championships and bandanas and all, with Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, ever so popular in the Houston, Texas area.
Beautiful classic National Wrestling Alliance design to those belts.
The Mid-South Tag Team Champion, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express.
Mid-South Tag Team Champions Rock and Roll Express being introduced to the delight of this crowd. It's a great shot of Robert Gibson. Ring announcer Boyd Pierce announcing to the crowd that due to the dangerousness of this match, that the fire marshal has requested that all the aisles be kept clear. You can see the supports around the four sides of that scaffold as they are secured to the ring. The crowd here now chanting rock and roll.
Now you talk about Boyd Pierce's jacket, and I don't know, Bruce. I mean, Jim Cornette seems to be sporting a spicy number himself. Jim Cornette, of course, is known for his colorful outfits.
Rock and Roll Express now appears to be climbing that scaffold. Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson making their way to the top.
Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson cannot wait to get this scaffold match underway, while as the Midnight Express and Jim Cornette are patiently buying their time.
Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of room to wrestle up there, Jeremy. There's some movement of that scaffold as the Rock and Roll Express appear to be testing that out. And At that height, that's got to be intimidating.
It's got to be intimidating, especially if you're afraid of heights.
One of the first ever scaffold match, ladies and gentlemen, and you are seeing it with your very own eyes right here on NWAClassics.com. Just one of the many matches that have been preserved in the Paul Bosch video library, bringing these to you each and every month right here on NWAClassics.com. Dennis Condrey now appears to be climbing back down. Not sure if he wants to go all the way to the top, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy, he may be one of those that's afraid of heights, as you were alluding to a little bit earlier.
Well, I know I'm definitely afraid of heights, and I would never be a part of a match such as this.
Bobby Eaton now in the red tights, climbing up the other side of the scaffold now. Midnight Express, having signed that contract against the Rock and Roll Express, compelled now to participate in this contest at these great heights above the ring. One of the first ever scaffold matches, ladies and gentlemen. And you can see the wrestlers are just below the ringside lights that are just above the ring. I mean, if one of these wrestlers happens to hit one of these lights in a body slam or something like that, we're gonna have a lot of broken shards of glass.
And that's not a good thing.
Okay, now Midnight Express quite wary about climbing that scaffold. Not sure if they want to get this match started or not. Bobby Eaton now again making that long journey to the top.
Keyword there being long.
Step by step, very carefully, cautiously. Obviously, he does not want to fall. That's a long drop off that side, especially if you miss the ring ropes and go all the way to the ring floor.
All right, there we see lover boy Dennis Condrey already up on the scaffold. Beautiful Bobby Eaton quickly follows suit.
Both the Midnight Express appear to have some consternation about this match, and the fans continuing to chant rock and roll now. All four wrestlers on top of this scaffold. Looks a bit wobbly. Ricky Morton and Bobby Eaton starting it off now. Ricky Morton now wobbling the scaffold, and the Midnight Express now very unhappy.
Looks like they're having second thoughts about getting this match started.
Rock and Roll Express now readying for the beginning of this. I believe that's the bell, ladies and gentlemen. The bell has been sounded, and this match has officially now begun. Midnight Express now continuing to remain in that corner.
Looks like they're trying to test the sturdiness of that scaffold. Looks like they want complete silence from the crowd.
Jim Cornette now climbing those turnbuckles, telling the crowd to be quiet. This capacity crowd having nothing of that.
It looks like Jim Cornette almost slipped on the ropes there, trying to console his tag team.
There are two referees for this matchup, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone is looking skyward as this match will be taking place high above the ring. Jim Cornette now going nuts at ringside.
Well, Jim just has to be glad that it's not him up on that scaffold. Because as history tells us, Jim Cornette and scaffolds don't really go hand in hand.
Both of these teams very cautious about how to get this match started.
So it looks like now it's Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express getting things started, along with, I believe that's Loverboy Dennis. Yep, the Loverboy Dennis in the lead with Bobby Eaton in tow.
Absolutely right, Jeremy. Robert Gibson trying to go for an ankle. Very cautious at these heights. I mean, the wrong fall literally could be fatal. It's an extremely dangerous match. Collar and elbow.
And believe it or not, fans, it's hard to control yourself when you're falling off a 15-foot scaffold.
Bobby Eaton now cautiously getting close to the action.
And you see Robert's foot gave way there. He almost fell himself. And now Eaton scurrying away from his end of the scaffold. And there you see Loverboy Dennis and Robert Gibson. There you see Ricky Morton trying to make sure that his partner doesn't fall. Now,
kind of difficult to tell from this camera angle, folks, unfortunately. But now you can see Ricky Morton applying some punches to the head of Dennis Condrey. Dennis Condrey's left leg coming off the side of that scaffold, barely. Now all four wrestlers mixing it up.
There you see in the end, we got Ricky Morton and Bobby Eaton. And then in the closer end, we got Robert Gibson and Loverboy Dennis. Now in a tag team scaffold match, not one but both of the tag team competitors have to be thrown off the scaffold in order to be declared the winner. And there you see Dennis Condrey.
Biting the forehead of Robert Gibson.
Well, Dennis Condrey was never known as a man to follow the rules in professional wrestling.
Robert Gibson now's head meeting the side of that scaffold as Dennis Condrey very effectively using the parts of that scaffold as a weapon. Obviously, there is no padding, ladies and gentlemen, on top of this scaffold. This is the hard, bare metal steel.
And there you see the competitors are on their knees as opposed to being on their feet. There you see. And I believe Eaton and Morton are
dangling.
I
see, it looks like Ricky Morton is dangling.
You're right,
on the other side of the scaffold.
Well, you're right, Bruce. Morton is dangling off that scaffold, and he's better be careful because one false move could signify the end for Ricky Morton in this match, or possibly his career.
Bobby Eaton trying to force Ricky Morton off the side of that scaffold. And Dennis Condrey also applying the punishment to Robert Gibson in the close corner of the scaffold up top.
And Gibson wrapping his body around those railings of the scaffold, trying to protect himself from that fall.
Ricky Morton now trying to climb back up onto the top of the scaffold. Dennis Condrey now scoring with some hard punches to the forehead, tearing at the eyes of Robert Gibson.
And now Condrey looking to help out his Midnight Express partner.
Dennis Condrey now working on Ricky Morton. You can see them on top of the scaffold at a great height above the cameras, right below the ring lights, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the ring lights glistening off the bodies of these competitors. The heat must be incredible at the top of the scaffold,
which makes this match even more dangerous. First off, you got to worry about not making one false move to fall off the scaffold, and then you got to worry about the hot ceiling lights. And there's one of Robert Gibson's legs dangling off of that scaffold.
Bobby Eaton now working on Ricky Morton. It appears as if Ricky Morton may be lacerated, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's also dangerous because with that blood getting into your eyes, especially standing on top of a scaffold, could be very, very fatal.
And if that blood gets into your eyes, you can't see. You could easily take a hard fall off the side of that scaffold. Extremely dangerous.
And Robert Gibson fighting back with his feet, against Loverboy Dennis. Robert looking to gain back the advantage here.
Dennis Condrey now relentless after Robert Gibson. This match has evolved into a Pier 6 brawl, ladies and gentlemen. Dennis Condrey and Robert Gibson battling away on the near side of this scaffold. And again, Condrey biting at the forehead of Robert Gibson.
Maybe Loverboy Dennis is trying to lacerate Robert Gibson as well, making both Rock and Roll Express exposed to blindness.
Very difficult to see at this elevation. However, this is a brutal match thus far, as all four of these grapplers battle it out.
And now Bobby Eaton dangling off the scaffold.
Ricky Morton now trying to force Bobby Eaton off the side. Bobby Eaton dangling now both feet off the side of that scaffold. Oh, Bobby Eaton now with a thumb to the eye of the bleeding, the heavily lacerated Ricky Morton. Bobby Eaton now crossing to the other side of that scaffold.
I guess he's trying to outsmart Ricky Morton. And now Bobby Eaton making his way back up to the scaffold, and Loverboy Dennis quickly there to help out his tag team partner, and right back on the offense of Robert Gibson.
Robert Gibson also on his feet now, but hard shot to the stomach has him on his knees. Midnight Express now in double team effort.
And it looks like Robert Gibson is also lacerated, and a little miscommunication there by the Midnight Express.
A duck by Robert Gibson. And Dennis Condrey makes contact with Bobby Eaton. Robert Gibson and Dennis Condrey now in a slugfest at the top of the scaffold now. Robert Gibson effectively using those knees, signaling to the crowd. And Bobby Eaton with some powder on Ricky Morton.
Well, if he's not blinded by the blood, he will certainly be blinded by that powder.
Bobby Eaton now rejoining his partner in a double team effort against Robert Gibson. Ricky Morton incapacitated now with that powder blinding him. Now is both Midnight Express on the offense against Robert Gibson.
And now all Eaton has to do is just throw Ricky Morton off of that scaffold. And if he does, it'll be a 2-on-1 affair against Robert Gibson. And now Robert Gibson dangling off the scaffold himself. Oh, some vicious shots there.
Robert Gibson barely hanging on, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh, and Robert ever so close to falling off that scaffold.
Doing all he can to hang on. And Dennis Condrey trying to kick Robert Gibson off the side of that scaffold. Ricky Morton now back on the offense against Bobby Eaton. Beautiful Bobby now. He is now dangling on the side of that scaffold. Ricky Morton now trying to smash the fingers. Got him by the hair. Repeated punches to the forehead.
And there you hear the crowd chanting for the Rock and Roll Express.
You must respect the resilience, fans, of both of these tag teams. What punishment all of these competitors have taken during this legendary scaffold match.
And for those of you wrestling historians, there's no doubt the rivalry between both the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express, and it's on showcase here in this scaffold match.
Now look at the strength of Bobby Eaton.
It looks like
my!
Robert and Bobby are playing their own version of chicken.
And now a fight ensues underneath the scaffold.
Oh!
Bobby Eaton goes down. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Bobby Eaton has fallen. Looks like he has severely injured his back. That was a 30-foot fall.
Match is not over yet. Condrey has still got a fall to end this match. And there he goes.
Dennis Condrey hits the canvas, ladies and gentlemen, and it's all over. The Rock and Roll Express has emerged victorious in this legendary scaffold match. Jim Cornette going crazy, as is the live crowd in attendance. You can see the vast capacity, standing room only crowd here. Thousands in attendance, ladies and gentlemen, to see this history-making scaffold match between the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. What an amazing match it was. We hope that you've all enjoyed it, ladies and gentlemen, here on NWAClassics.com. There you see a bloody Ricky Morton raising his hands in victory at the top of that scaffold, shaking hands with his tag team partner, Rock and Roll Express member Robert Gibson.